Hello everyone, my name is Keith Walton and today I'm going to be explaining how to fix the controller stick or analog stick shift on a PS5 controller. So for me, I've been playing video games for well over a decade, with FPS games or first person shooter games being my favorite genre. They are very hard on the analog sticks and I've gone through plenty of controllers throughout the years. The reason for this is because of the intensity of the gameplay and the reliance of the analog sticks in an FPS game. So typically when you're playing, the left analog stick controls, your movement, going up, you go forward, back, you go backwards, left and right and whatnot. And when you want to sprint, you click L3 while going forward. So that's a lot of wear on the analog stick. And then the same for the right analog stick. When you want to move around, that's basically your camera. You use the right analog stick. And since I play on tactical, clicking R3 is how I crouch. So I'm constantly going at it with both analog sticks. And this might cause an electrical signal that you don't want to go to your sensor in the analog stick, which causes drift. Or it's typically when the alignment of the analog stick and the sensor is off balance, which causes you to do things that you don't want to do. Drift is the involuntary movement of your analog sticks when you're playing any game, to be honest, but it's very, very prevalent in first person shooters. Imagine like you're trying to move forward, but your character moves right, or you're trying to go back, but your camera turns left, and it's just really annoying, and there's a simple fix. So for a PS5 controller, when you're starting to take it apart, you start at the black casing in the front of the controller. This is very fragile, so you have to be very delicate, right? So you start off on the bottom. You might want to get a nail in the corner, and you just pull this off, and you pull this off. I can't really do this right now in the video because it requires me to sit down and really, just take my time when I take apart a controller. So for the video, I'm just going to be demonstrating what I would do when I'm taking apart my PS5 controller. Right? So once you take the black parts off, you're able to pull the black portion away from the thing, but you have to be very careful because there's two sharp points that are connected to the touchscreen, and you do not want to break those because then it won't be able to go back on properly, right? So once you get the black part of the PS5 controller off, you'll have access to two screws. There's one on each side of the handle. The other two screws, since there's four in total, are underneath the bumpers, or L1 and R1. And I can actually demonstrate by taking off my L1 button right now. You can see right here, there's a screw right underneath it. You don't have to zoom. So once you take off the bumpers, and once you take off the black portion, you have access to all four screws. All you have to do is unscrew them, and then there will be four clamps. There's two clamps underneath the controller, there's one clamp on the left of the controller, and there's another clamp on the right of the controller. So you want to take the ones on the bottom off first because they're the easiest. You just want to get a nail, get in there, and then just unhook it. And then from there, you have a little bit of leverage to pry a screwdriver in there and make a gap so you can get a finger through, and you just follow the line up to the other clamp, and then you just kind of work at it, and then you'll unhook the other two clamps for both sides, for both the left and the right. Once you do that, you're able to take the back of the controller off, and you're able to just put this there, and then you'll be left with the front of the frame alongside the motherboard and everything else, right? From there, you'll have a battery and then a plug that goes into the motherboard. For the battery, I typically use a pair of needle nose pliers. These are good because with regular pliers, you don't want to grip too hard at the plug because you can risk breaking the wire, and anything else is just dangerous, right? So you grab the plug with the needle nose pliers and you gently wiggle the plug outside of the motherboard. Once you do that, you can safely remove the battery and put it somewhere else until you need it for later. After that, there'll be the motherboard with the 5 ribbon cables. Ribbon cables are very, very fine cables. They look like ribbons, and they're used to connect the 2 adaptive triggers, which are new to the PS5, the front-facing mic and the back-facing mic, as well as the touchpad. Once you gently remove the ribbon cables from the motherboard, you can actually get some tape and tape the back of the ribbon cable to the back of or like to the front of the frame, since the back would be gone. You can tape the front mic there, and then the back mic you can just place somewhere else. For the adaptive trigger ones, you just basically leave them on the side since they're not interfering with nothing. And same with the touchpad one, you can just leave that on the side because it's not interfering with anything. Once you unscrew the screw that's connecting the motherboard to the adaptive triggers with a fine Phillip, you'll be able to remove the motherboard from the PS5 controller, and that also removes the analog sticks from the front of the from the front of the controller. So you'll have the front frame with all the buttons and all the D-pad buttons disconnecting from the front of the frame of the controller. From there, you'll have the analog sticks open, and you can see the sensor. It basically looks like a cube with 4 sides that deattach. And once you deattach each side, you can see on the inside the sensor. The sensor is what we want to see, right? So you're gonna grab a Q-tip, dip it in some alcohol, some rubbing alcohol, maybe 90%, that's best, right? And then you gently clean, you just rub it on the sensor to make sure it's clean. Once you put it back together, the cube, you put the motherboard back into the front of the frame, and then you gently screw in every single thing. You put everything back, you plug in all the ribbon cables, you put in the back, and then you put the black part of it back in after you put in the bumpers, screwed in these 4, and then you'll be good to go, and that should last you a little bit longer because, to be honest, fixing it like this is way better than going to the store and spending $70 on a brand new PS5 controllers. I hope that helped anybody that has a PS5 and maybe experiencing stick drift in an FPS game, and I'll talk to you guys later. Thank you.